Mistakes that people make when making Japanese tea. If we have not met before, I'm Pat Tokuyama, creator of this YouTube channel, All Day Like a Shark. Subscribe if you want to see more Japanese and tea related videos. So the first mistake is going to be using tap water. You might wonder what the problem is with tap water, but trying to make good tea with bad tap water is going to result in bad tea. But if you have a good source of tap water, maybe this will not apply. However, if you don't, please keep the following in mind. If your house doesn't have a water filter or a way to purify the tap water, it might contain chlorine, small rocks, or dissolved metals and other impurities. Here in Los Angeles, where I currently live, the water is very hard. That means there's a lot of stuff that's dissolved in the water. Minerals, metals, and other impurities that you don't necessarily want to be drinking, but they're there. If you don't believe me, you can test your water with a total dissolved solid meter, which is a TDS meter for short, and that tells you how many total dissolved solids there are in parts per million in your water. So when we had our water tested last summer, our ppms were greater than 450, and wasn't really surprised because the tap water here in LA does not taste good. Purified water, such as reverse osmosis filtered water, will filter out a lot of those dissolved solids, resulting in a TDS reading less than 20 ppms, parts per million. So as you might imagine, when you're using more of a pure water source, then it's gonna taste a little bit different. And yes, it might be okay to brew using tap water with a strong flavored tea if that's what you're gonna be drinking, but in general, Japanese teas are not that strongly flavored unless you're brewing them that way. There are a few exceptions, of course, like hojicha. Anyways, because most Japanese teas are delicate and refined, in nature, it's likely that the taste will be masked and or tainted if you're using impure water. If at all possible, use filtered water or bottled mineral water to make the tea. Mistake number 2 is using the incorrect temperature of water. Water at a roiling boil will likely overstrength the tea, resulting in a bitter cup, especially if you've allowed it to brew for an extended period of time, as in not timing it at all. Too cold of a water will under-extract it, resulting in a watery and dilute flavor, and so will not using enough tea. So it's important to recognize that when starting out with a new tea, to brew it according to the instructions. I know I don't sometimes, I admit. But anyways, you're not me, and you can do as I say, and you're gonna read the instructions when you're brewing a new batch of tea that you have never tried before. That way you can enjoy it to its fullest. Each Japanese green tea that you may try has different characteristics that can be influenced and impacted by the temperature of the water that you're using. So to get around this is to use a thermometer and a timer. Easy, huh? Mistake number 3 is not measuring the amount of water or the weight of the tea and the brewing time. So I guess I kind of touched on this briefly, but as above, too much, too little water, too short, too long of a brewing time will affect the tea in your cup. Of course, right? You're gonna either over or under extract it. So in addition to not being mindful of the amount of tea that you're using, this is gonna result in inconsistent brews. And if you're using a nice quality tea, this might be something important so that you can experience the best aspects of what you paid for. So if you simply measure the water and the weight of the tea with a scale and then use a timer after adding the hot water, you'll know exactly how to brew. Using these measurements, brewing time, water volume, weight of the tea, temperature. 4 simple ways that you can improve the flavor of your cup today. And no, it doesn't take that much work. Overbrewing is mistake number 4. In Japanese, the second and third brews are referred to as nibancha and sanbancha. So for most Japanese teas, the flavor is not necessarily going to be that good after the second and third brews. After which I would suggest either making a new pot with fresh leaves if you want a okawari, which is a refill. This won't be an issue for you. I've seen advertisements for certain teas that it said the tea can be brewed up to 7 or 10 times. That is absurd. Can you imagine what's going to be left in your teapot after 7 refills of hot water? It's just going to taste like water. Mistake number 5 is not ever trying to do a cold brew. Tea doesn't always have to be hot, and in fact, cold brew tea is one of my favorite ways to enjoy it, and it could be yours too. Brewing a tea hot and then chilling it in the refrigerator is not cold brew. That's just chilled hot tea. So cold brew, if you didn't know, is using room temperature cold water to extract the tea or coffee, and if you do that, that makes a true cold brew. The benefit from the cold brewing process or cold temperature is that it helps to mellow out some of the harsh flavors that you might experience with a hot brew and tease out some of the new flavors and characteristics that you otherwise may have never noticed. So if you find a tea a little bit unpleasant, Maybe it's too bitter, too astringent, too harsh. Then try a cold brew for something different. You might be pleasantly surprised. So now that you're familiar with 5 mistakes that people often make when making Japanese tea, you're ready to do something different with your next cup, aren't you? If you'd like to get some of my favorite tea from Japan, you've got several options. Check out the link in the description to learn more. And if you enjoyed this video and got some value out of it, give me a thumbs up, share it and comment what you thought. If I missed anything, let me know. And otherwise, I'll see you next time. Jane, bye-bye.